When you've got so much skill in an area, when you've got so much knowledge, you have empowerment, and that empowerment makes you feel excited, makes you feel important, makes you feel that you're sort of a force of nature. And when you're speaking to someone over the telephone, when you're speaking to someone over Zoom, or when you're meeting someone in person, they pick up that empowerment. Hello guys, welcome back to the Stephen Sulley Study. I hope you've been enjoying some of the interviews recently. We've got some brilliant guests lined up in the next coming weeks and months, and they're only going to get better. I've got a sensational guy who's in business worth about £80 million who was here last night at the studio. He's becoming an art collector of ours, so I'm hoping by next week he's going to be on the show. I've got a film British actor I'm looking to get on. I have a wellness individual. In actual fact, it was a former guest of mine. It's his partner. She's absolutely amazing. So I'm hoping that the goal is always to step up the quality of my production, come out with new content, come up with some new angles, and more importantly, trying to get a diverse range of different guests. I think it's very, very important. If you're ever going to get inspired in life, don't just look at one demographic, look at multiple different demographics, because you never know, you might hear one thing and it can change your life forever. Hence why I don't just pigeonhole into one person. I like to, go across multiple different people. So today's going to be a bit of a short episode. It's a bit on the reflection of what happened with us as a brand, Woodbury House, over the last coming weeks. We've done the big show over at the Saatchi Gallery with Startnet, which was fantastic for the nightlife show. And also, just looking back beyond that, the journey that we've had as a brand going into the art market. Now, I've said this plenty of times with guests, and also I've said this plenty of times on episodes. I'm not from the art market, and in some ways I feel like that's given me some sort of an advantage, simply because I've gone into it, excuse the pun, with a blank canvas, and I can do kind of how I see fit, rather than conforming to a certain regimented way how the art market typically sort of does business. And I've got a few points here that I've written down that I wanted to share with you on going into the art market, and more importantly working with one particular artist. Now, we have worked with a few different artists. There's a guy called Days, Christopher Ellis Days. He was Richard Hambleton's former tenant. He's very much a part of the street art culture and scene, and I've got very, very high hopes for him in the future. And I believe that, over the next 6 months or 12 months, we're probably going to revisit working with him, as well as some of Richard Hambleton's affiliates. We've worked with a few other artists as well, including some British artists, but for us, 95% of our concentration, or probably even higher, and 95%, or if not higher, of our revenue has come from Hambleton. And I wouldn't say it was a conscious decision. I've got to admit, I think 6-7 years ago when we got into the market, I believe that we probably would have dovetailed into many other artists, and that's only because of my beliefs. I believe that back then, if you had some kind of gallery, some kind of art agency, private studio, you would probably go into multiple different artists. But it's been an absolute blessing just really focusing on one. And now looking back, it's actually been our best decision ever, because I see multiple different galleries, and a lot of them are fantastic. There's obviously some shit ones out there, but there are certainly a lot of good ones in London, especially in Mayfair. And I do admire how they do things, and I've got a lot of respect for the people that own it, and I've got a lot of respect how they, do their business. However, my take, and this is just my opinion, the downside to that, in regards to working with multiple different artists, multiple different artworks, and multiple different genres, is my argument is, especially when I'm speaking to collectors or investors, how can you become experts in every single one of them? It's very, very difficult, and it's almost impossible. So I like to focus on, on one artist at the moment only, and certainly one genre, because number one, I've got belief in it, and number two, I'm just so passionate about it. I've spoken to multiple different people in their fields who have become experts. I reference a guy called Ozzy. He's a good friend of mine. I've said this name a few times. I mean, he's got the largest private care homes in the country. He's got all the toys you can imagine, and he is just literally stuck at doing care homes, and that's now dovetailed into slightly different things now. He's got rehab centres, he's gone into HMOs. It's predominantly property based. And then I was on a Zoom call just only a few nights ago with a billionaire, and this billionaire has made his name by going into certain artists and building their market up by doing great PR, great content, and more importantly, great advertisement. And he's known from taking an artist from here to here. And both of these people I just referenced, they're in different sectors. One's in property or care homes, and one's in art. And they're both wildly successful. Ozzy's, I think, company's worth £500 million. This guy's a billionaire. And listen, if we all died, being worth 100 million, 500 million or £1 billion plus, we're going to die very, very happy, certainly as far as your financial goals are concerned. And what I've noticed is they've stuck in their own lane and they've really become almost experts at what they do. So I've written down 4 points, okay? So the first one is focusing on becoming the absolute best in your field. Again, going back to Richard Hamilton, look, we're still very much students of the art game, certainly students of the Richard Hamilton movement, and I'm certainly a student, as wanky as this may sound. I'm certainly a student of life. I'm going to continue learning. I'm going to continue putting myself around people that know far much more in their area than I do. I'm going to team up with people who are very knowledgeable, very wise, and certainly got the energy and passion for what they do. But becoming as close as you can be to the very, very best of your area, of your sector, and of your craft is certainly. I don't want to say this is advice because I don't even think I'm old enough and even wise enough to give people advice, but it's just my take on things. So to becoming the absolute best in your area is certainly number one. So I feel if you're going to go into property, if you're going to go into art, if you're going to go into an artist or anything that you're going to do, being focused on being number one and being the very, very best you can be is definitely the first goal. The thing off that is when you dedicate yourself to becoming number one, you build up a massive amount of knowledge. And I've always said that even if you've got 100% knowledge of your area, which is completely impossible because it always evolves, but let's just consider right now you could get 100% knowledge of your area. Let's look at Hambleton. 7 years into this, I know quite a lot about Hambleton now. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I certainly know far much more than, let's say, the typical passive sort of art collector or passive street art sort of fanatic. And that knowledge, providing you're using it in the right way, can turn into revenue. So the more knowledge that you know, intrinsically, it should work out that you can make more money because of it. And I talk about this being empowerment. When you've got so much skill in an area, when you've got so much knowledge, you have empowerment. And that empowerment makes you feel excited, makes you feel important, makes you feel that you're sort of a force of nature. And when you're speaking to someone over the telephone, when you're speaking to someone over Zoom, or when you're meeting someone in person, they pick up that empowerment. So you're not here to just give them an avalanche of information or knowledge because you know it. Because it's inside, it almost gives you that empowerment. And I think I've used this example before on a previous episode. I spoke about Conor McGregor. Now, one thing that people know about Conor McGregor, very outspoken, very confident, and he has this air of belief. And that's because of the hard work he's put in. That's because of the experience he's got. And that's because he's been putting himself into very, very regimented training fight camps, or he's lived that life. And because of that, people pick up on that. And they say most fights are won before you get into the octagon, before you get in the ring, because that person's got the empowerment. Mike Tyson had the same, Floyd Mayweather's got the same. And in business, it's kind of the same thing as well. If you're in business, you're actually in sales, because part of business is selling your staff, selling your customers, and selling the people around you. And if you've got a massive amount of knowledge, that is going to come off, you're going to feel empowered, and therefore you're going to have confidence. So number two, once you've got that knowledge and empowerment, you become a figurehead in your space. Once you become a figurehead in your space, it's not a brand that you give yourself, but it's the brand or the acknowledgement that the wider audience starts to give you. I'll give you an example. I've been putting out a lot of content, obviously on my podcast and specifically Richard Hamilton over the last few years. And I've put a few videos up onto YouTube, and they usually rank very, very high in Google. In actual fact, if you type in Richard Hamilton, I used to be the #1 video coming up. And I think it was the 10 top things about Richard Hamilton. And I had a lady from, I think it was Lebanon or something like that. She saw the video because you're looking at Richard Hamilton. She contacted me, flew to London, and she had a conversation with me. And her and her husband ended up buying a canvas piece off of us. Now, she didn't say the words, but she basically said in a roundabout way that, you know, you're an expert in Richard Hamilton. I can see from the studio that you've got a lot of pieces, and I know you've been in the market for a long time now. And I've seen Woodbury House on multiple different publications. I've seen you've done multiple different shows and collaborations, etc. And because of that, she held me out to be this kind of figurehead, an expert in this sector. Again, I don't think you can ever become an expert. I think you're always going to, you know, build up your knowledge, build up your confidence, build up momentum. But when other people say it, it gives you a lot of feel-good factor. Number 3, one thing I've appreciated just solely really working on Hamilton is I have grown as the market has grown. So I've referenced before, when I was selling Richard Hamilton works back in 2014, 2015, we were selling these works between £4,000 to £8,000. Now, these pieces are selling between £40,000, £50,000, £60,000 plus. I have seen other galleries in Mayfair selling these pieces between £80,000, £90,000, even £100,000. And as the market has grown and matured, I've grown as a let's call it an art dealer, art kind of advisor or art, you know, personnel in the sector. And I think as markets mature, you mature as a business person, you mature as a salesperson, you mature as kind of a professional in your sector. So if I was jumping from one genre to another and one artist to another, I may have not gained that maturity. So many, let's call it professional multimillionaires, billionaires, these gurus, they always talk about becoming an expert in your area. And that is because of the maturity that you build as the market develops. And I definitely would second that. And the last one is this. It's sort of contradicting what I said about sticking in one lane. I believe sticking into one sector, maybe one artist or one strategy for a very, very long time. But then I do believe over time you will dovetail into different areas. So going back to my friend who owns one of the largest or the largest private care homes in the country, as he's developed his business and his property empire, that is slowly but surely organically started to dovetail in different sectors. And I know a lot of property developers who started on single lets, then they went into HMOs, which I've gone into as well with my property company called Tungsten Management Group. Now we're going into commercial conversions. We're buying a commercial development up north. We're converting it into flats. And then eventually I believe that they will get bigger and bigger and bigger. You're going to do bigger schemes, bigger units. And then that's going to probably go into new developments. And this guy I referenced earlier, who's a billionaire from art, I would imagine, haven't done all my homework on him yet, but I would imagine he started with a few different artists, built up their career, probably stuck in one genre, and now he can basically do what he wants in art because he's built up a wide range of knowledge in different sectors, different genres, and more importantly, different artists. So there's a saying that one of my kind of friends or mentors used to say to me, do the thing and you should have power. And that can mean many different meanings. It can have many different perceptions on that saying. But what I take from it is, if you do the thing, as in take action in one particular area, eventually other opportunities will come to you. That is because you're becoming known in that sector. That's because you're building up more knowledge. That is because you're engaging the law of attraction. Whether you believe in the law of attraction or not, I believe it happens. And I believe that if you become empowered and you have a lot of power in your sector, other people come towards you. And now, being in this sector for so long now, and I still class myself as a baby in it, in regards to I've got so much more to learn and so much more to do. We're getting very, very strong figureheads approach us. So much so that we had an opportunity to work with Saatchi Gallery, which is a fucking major deal. It really is a major deal. You know, we were presented this opportunity. We had to invest into the space over £30,000 just to secure it. We had to pay PR, we had to pay creative people, we had to pay a marketing strategy company. We were basically £70,000-80,000 into this before we even sold one piece of artwork. And the reason why we were confident to do that, and we knew we was going to get a return on our investment, is because we built up so much traction, so much such a good client base now, and we're known for this particular artist being Woodbury House. We just knew that other opportunities would, you know, sort of be born off the back end of it. So to recap, build a massive amount of knowledge in your area, become a key individual in your space. You will grow, number 3, with the market as it grows. You will become a lot more mature. And last one is, once you're in a sector that is doing very, very well, and you're doing very well in it, other opportunities will be born off the back end of it. Hope you enjoyed this this podcast. I want to say a big shout out to my branding partner. I've got it here. They are called the Woods Co-op. You can find them on the Woods /op420.com. They're experts in CBD. I've recently started taking CBD, and I've got to say I've seen massive benefits from it already. Give them a look. Give them a follow on Instagram, and be sure to look at their products. Remember, be happy, never content, and please recommend me to your friends and family.